Imagine you are in the middle of a lake. You need to get to the shore. You start splashing, kicking, and screaming at the water. You are using every ounce of your muscle to force your way to safety. But the more you splash, the more water you swallow. You are fighting the lake, and the lake always wins. Now, imagine the person who simply floats. They don't fight the water. They understand its properties. They move their arms with precision, not desperation. Most people live their lives like the person drowning. They force their careers, force their children to behave, and force themselves to be happy. They are exhausted, and their results are mediocre at best. Stoicism, the ancient philosophy of the Roman emperors and enslaved, offers a different path. It is the path of silent power. Today, we are breaking down the 10 laws to stop forcing and start achieving. This isn't about being lazy. It's about being effective. Let's begin with the first law of the untouchable mind. Law 1, the law of the internal citadel. The first reason you feel the need to force everything is that your internal world is in shambles. Marcus Aurelius spoke of the inner citadel, a fortress within the mind that no external army can breach. Think about a modern office environment. You have a boss who is breathing down your neck, and your immediate reaction is to force a defense. You argue, you get defensive, you lose your cool. Why? Because your citadel has no walls. You have allowed their external chaos to become your internal reality. To apply Law 1, you must realize that nothing outside your mind can touch you unless you let it. When you stop forcing people to treat you well and start focusing on treating yourself with discipline, the world shifts. People don't respect a person who begs for respect. They respect a person who is so grounded in their own character that they don't seem to need anyone else's validation. This is the foundation of the silent power we discuss and Be Silently Powerful. 7 Stoic habits that make you unforgettable. The practice: tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, sit in silence for 5 minutes. Visualize your mind as a stone fortress. Let the noise of the day wash over it like rain on granite. The rain doesn't change the stone. Neither should the world change you. Law 2, the law of non-resistance. The second law is perhaps the hardest to master. Amor fati, or the love of fate. Most of our forcing comes from a rejection of reality. We say, it shouldn't be raining today, or he shouldn't have said that. By saying shouldn't, you are trying to force the past to change, which is impossible. It is a waste of your divine spark. Think of a pilot hitting turbulence. If the pilot tries to force the plane to be still by fighting every bump with violent control, they risk crashing. A master pilot understands wind. They flow with it. When you encounter a bad result, a failed project, a breakup, a financial loss, stop the forcing cycle. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? Ask, how can I use this? This is how you transform a roadblock into a ramp. When you love your fate, you become invincible because nothing can happen to you that you cannot turn into an advantage. This is the core of the inner citadel. How to find peace when everything around you is chaotic. Law 3, the law of silent competence. There is a deep weakness in announcing. We force our status by telling everyone our plans. We post our workouts, our business ideas, and our goals on social media, seeking the hit of approval. Stoicism teaches us that virtue is its own reward. Law 3 states that the more you talk about what you're going to do, the less likely you are to do it. You are forcing an image of success rather than building the reality of it. Silent power is found in the work done in the dark. Epictetus said, don't talk about your philosophy, embody it. If you want better results, disappear for 6 months. Stop forcing people to notice you and start becoming someone who is impossible to ignore. The results will speak louder than any Instagram caption ever could. Law 4, the law of the objective lens. The fourth law is the secret to thinking with absolute clarity. Strip the event of its skin. Most of us don't see the world as it is. We see it through a thick fog of forcing our judgments onto it. Someone cuts you off in traffic and you think, he's trying to disrespect me. You lose a client and you think, my business is dying. These aren't facts. They are stories you're forcing onto reality. Marcus Aurelius taught a technique called objective representation. He would describe expensive wine as merely fermented grape juice, and a purple robe as sheep's hair dyed with the blood of a shellfish. He stripped the glamour or terror away to see the thing for what it was. The modern application. If you get harsh email from a boss, stop forcing the narrative that you're about to be fired. Look at it through the objective lens. These are black marks on a white screen representing another human's temporary frustration. When you remove the forced drama, the fog clears. Suddenly, you aren't reacting with fear. You are responding with logic. That is how you get better results while everyone else is blinded by emotion. Law 5, the law of strategic indifference. To get what you want, you must be willing to walk away from it. This is the law of strategic indifference. Think about the force of a desperate salesman. You can smell their need for the commission from a mile away, and it makes you want to run. Now, think about the person who provides incredible value but seems completely indifferent to whether you buy or not. Which one do you trust more? In Stoicism, this is called action with a reserve clause. You say, I will do my absolute best to win this contract, if nothing happens to prevent it. By adding that if you remove the desperation, you are no longer forcing the universe to give you a specific outcome. When you are indifferent to the result, you gain a silent power that is terrifying to your competitors. You become the person who cannot be bribed, cannot be bullied, and cannot be broken, because your happiness isn't tied to the scoreboard. It's tied to your effort. This is a core theme in your video, The Inner Citadel. How to find peace when everything around you is chaotic. Law 6, the law of the pause. We live in an age of instant reaction. We feel a need to force a reply to every text, every comment, and every insult. But Law 6 tells us, the one who speaks first is often the one who loses. There's a legendary story of Cato the Younger. While he was pleading a case, a man spat directly in his face. The entire court gasped, expecting a forced reaction of rage. Instead, Cato simply wiped his face and said, I will swear to anyone, Lentulus, that those are mistaken who say you cannot use your mouth. He used a pause. He didn't force a fight. He used wit and silence to make his opponent look small. The practice. The next time someone triggers you, don't force a response. Count to 10. In that 10-second pause, you move from your animal brain to your stoic brain. You'll find that in 90% of cases, the best response is no response at all. Silence isn't a lack of power. It is the ultimate expression of it. Law 7, the law of voluntary hardship. Why do we force things? Usually, it's because we are terrified of losing our comfort. We force a bad job because we're scared of being broke. We force a toxic relationship because we're scared of being alone. The Stoic breaks this fear through voluntary hardship. Seneca advised that we should set aside a few days every month to live on the scantiest fare and coarsest dress, asking ourselves, is this the condition I feared? The modern application. When you realize you can survive on bread and water, or that you can be happy in a cold room, you stop being a slave to your needs. You stop forcing your life to be perfectly comfortable. And ironically, when you stop being desperate for comfort, you become much more effective at building real wealth and lasting success. You move from a place of need to a place of choice. This is the true meaning of being untouchable. Law 8, the law of universal flow. There's a difference between effort and force. Think of a surfer. A surfer doesn't force the wave to exist. They don't scream at the ocean to change its tide. They spend 90% of their time watching, waiting, and positioning. Then, when the kairos, the opportune moment, arrives, they move with total intensity. Most people are trying to surf on flat water. They are trying to force a business to grow before the market is ready. They are trying to force a person to love them before the timing is right. The lesson: stop exhausting yourself by rowing against the tide. Use your stoic power to observe the patterns of your life. When the wind is against you, anchor down and work on your character. When the wind is with you, sail with everything you have. Better results come from timing, not just effort. Law 9, the law of self-sufficiency. Marcus Aurelius said, "Be like the promontory against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it." The 9th law of silent power is to be your own source of light. If you are constantly forcing others to notice you, validate you, or agree with you, then you are a beggar in spirit. A Stoic is a king within their own mind. When you stop forcing the world to give you what you think you deserve, and you start giving yourself the discipline you know you need, your energy changes. People are naturally drawn to those who are self-sufficient. By needing nothing, you become the person everyone wants to be around. W10, the law of the quiet exit. The final law is the ultimate test of strength, knowing when to stop. We are taught that winners never quit, but the Stoic knows that winners never waste their lives on a lost cause. Forcing a dead end isn't grit, it's ego. Whether it's an argument, a business venture, or a habit that no longer serves you, have the courage to make a quiet exit. You don't need to burn the bridge. You don't need to make a scene. You simply stop giving it your attention. You withdraw your silent power and reinvest it where it will actually grow. A master knows that their time is their only truly finite resource. Don't force the impossible. Pursue the virtuous. The conclusion, the invitation to power. Stop fighting the river. The results you've been forced will come much faster when you focus on the only thing you truly own, your mind, your character, and your next choice. You are no longer the person splashing in the water. You are the rock. You are the inner citadel. You are untouchable. If these 10 laws shifted something in you today, I want to hear from you. Which law did you need to hear most? Type it in the comments. And if you're ready to see how these laws apply to your daily habits, watch this next. Be silently powerful. 7 Stoic habits that make you unforgettable. Subscribe to join the Stoic Power community. Until next time, stay powerful.